Us humans communicate very easily with each other, and most of the time we're speaking to each other. But we can't do the same thing with other animals. We can teach little tricks to dogs and cats, but we really can't teach them how to speak. Between all these animals, the only animal we can actually speak to is a gorilla. If you've seen our video about pathological lying, you most likely got to know this gorilla, Koko. Koko has passed away, but when he was alive, he was one of the smartest gorillas we've ever gotten to know. You could talk to him with American Sign Language. He wouldn't understand words, but he would understand signs easily, and in most cases, he would reply with signing. Koko made humans realize the true power of a gorilla brain. This gorilla you're seeing is not very similar to humans, except some body parts. But you have to know that 98% of the gorilla's DNA is similar to a human DNA. A gorilla is much bigger and stronger, but its brain is obviously less complex and smaller. Don't look at Koko where he just talks to people and communicates. Gorillas are still wild animals. They don't want to attack humans, but if they feel threatened, they will easily attack. Gorilla is a very powerful animal, but what separates it from other powerful animals is that it's actually smart, and you really can't say the same thing like, for example, a bear. Where do these guys live? In Central Africa, in two different places. Between where the two different gorillas live, there's 900 kilometers of forest. Scientists believe that since the Ice Age, these two gorillas were separated from one another, and the Congo forest kept expanding, and day by day, these two were separated. The last Ice Age also happened around 11,500 years ago, and that is why they don't look similar to one another, and that means they evolved differently in different environments. 11,500 years is not a lot for evolution to take place, but you will see differences. In a lot of animals, especially monkeys, you'll notice that the male is much stronger than the female, but the difference in gorillas is ginormous, way bigger than any other animal. Like, look at these two. They're the same age, but the difference is huge. In a lot of animal kingdoms, even humans sometimes, the most powerful is the alpha, or basically the leader. The most powerful wolf is gonna be the alpha. Between gorillas, it's very easy to spot the alpha because they're usually a silverback male gorilla, and you could tell by the size that this one is the leader. An average weight of a silverback gorilla is 180 kilos, but this animal is a champion in deadlifting. You might not believe it, but a gorilla will be able to pick up 450 kilos from the ground. 2.5 times its body weight. This is the average weight an average silverback could pick up. But the most powerful gorilla that was able to deadlift the maximum amount of weight recorded was about 815 kilograms. When you compare the bones and muscle structure of a gorilla to a human, you'll notice that they're not that different. It looks thicker and stronger, but how is it possible for a gorilla to be so much stronger than a human, and a human doesn't even have half the power? The first reason is that its bone is much more strong, even though it's not that thick. A gorilla bone is not like the human bone, where with a hit it could damage. A gorilla bone structure is like a spring, and it has play rather than breaking. That's why with all this weight, it could climb a tree with one hand with no problem. Anybody that looks at a gorilla and looks at these teeth, they think that a gorilla is a carnivorous predator, but gorillas don't eat meat at all, and they're omnivores. Gorillas can eat and digest meat, but they prefer not to. In a place where there's a lot of fruits and veggies, they don't want any meat. But for it to get full, they need at least 18 kilograms worth of food every 24 hours. That is why most of the times where you see gorillas, they're usually eating. If you've seen our video about pandas, you'll know that these animals should not eat plants. They have to eat meat. And this plant eating basically destroys the animal's life. But a gorilla is the opposite. They eat plants and fruits, but they're not weak at all. Weak as in terms of a panda doesn't even have energy to move sometimes, but a gorilla has plenty. They eat all types of fruits and vegetables, and they have enough energy for anything. And the main reason is that inside the animal's gut, the cellulose is broken down. If a human eats cellulose, it does not get digested, it just passes through. That is why gorillas have energy. They can digest the cellulose and produce protein for their body. Gorillas don't really fight. But if two silverbacks are confronted with one another, there is a high chance there will be a fight, and they won't stop until one is dead. They're like roosters, but much worse. In each group, there can't be more than one silverback, and if that's not the case, one has to run away, or they have to fight to the death. But silverbacks have so much pride that they would rather die in a battle than run away. If you guys know chimpanzees, you know that they use different tools, but nothing complicated. They can use wooden tools for different jobs. And of course, they use rocks as hammers and they break stuff with it. But gorillas don't really use these tools and they use their hand for everything. Female gorillas have been seen using tools. Like for example, they want to pass through a river and they have kids with them. And with the help of a stick, they can check the depth of that river so their kids can pass through safely. A gorilla is a very social animal and they most likely live together. The amount of females and kids doesn't matter. There can only be one alpha per group, and if it's not that, the family will be broken up. In different monkeys, the female has to raise the children, and if something happens to her, the male will run away. But in gorillas, you can't find that. And if something happens to the female gorilla, even the silverback will raise the children until they get older. After humans, gorillas are the only type of animal that speak with one another in their group. Not speaking as in words, but with sign language and moving their mouth. The same thing Coco would do in sign language. The way they communicate is very interesting. They move their hand and make different noises, and it seems like they can understand one another. The thing they taught Coco, they tried with different monkeys, especially chimpanzees. But gorillas were unique in this term because they would learn very fast. Coco taught scientists that they're smarter than other animals, and the more you teach them, the more they want to learn. One time Coco sees a person with a mask and asks his instructor what that is, and he would keep signing hat and eye until the instructor realized that he's talking about a mask and he was taught what a mask is. When they taught Coco what a cat is and he realized what kind of an animal it is, he would not stop talking about it, and then eventually he was given a pet cat. Coco loved this animal so much that he kept it like a child. In our video about pathological lying, we explained that when Coco was playing, he accidentally destroyed a sink. When the instructor asked who did this, Coco points to the cat, but there was cameras in that room and everybody saw that Coco broke the sink. And you could say this was the first lie recorded by an animal. Scientists always want to figure out how gorillas communicate with each other, and in other words, they basically want to learn their language. But the more they look at them, the more confused they get, and they can't fathom how they speak and communicate. This problem is seen in dolphins, elephants, and wolves. They can communicate with each other by making noise and moving, but we can't understand what it is. And gorillas are the same thing. Some scientists say instead of teaching gorillas sign language, we should try to learn their language, because they for sure communicate, but we just can't understand it. Another interesting story about apes and monkeys is that in the 1920s, Stalin wanted to upgrade the Red Army, and that means basically making monkey hybrids for his soldiers. Monkey power, but human brain. He hires different scientists to basically mate humans and monkeys together, so he can have a soldier with the strength of a gorilla, but the brain of a human. Scientists tried their hardest because they were mostly scared of Stalin, but the more they tried, they didn't get any results. Even though the gorilla DNA is extremely close to us, but something like this will never work.